At the hole where he went in, Red-Eye called to Wrinkleskin. "Here, what, little Red-Eye saith? Nag, come up and dance with death. Eye to eye and head to head. This shall end when one is dead. Turn for turn and twist for twist. The hooded death has missed." This is the story of the great war that Rikki-Tikki-Tavi fought through the bathrooms of the big bungalow in Sagali Camp. Darcy the tailor bird helped him, and Shakundra, the muskrat, who never comes out into the middle of the floor but always creeps round by the wall, gave him advice. But Rikki-Tikki did the real fighting. He was a mongoose, rather like a little cat in his fur and his tail, but quite like a weasel in his head and habit. His eyes and the end of his restless nose were pink. He could scratch himself anywhere he pleased, with any leg, front or back, that he chose to use. He could fluff up his tail till it looked like a bottle brush, and his war cry, as he through the long grass, was Rikki-Tikki. One day, a high summer flood washed him out of the burrow where he lived with his father and mother, and carried him, kicking and clucking, down a roadside ditch. He even found a little wisp of grass floating there, and clung to it till he lost his senses. He revived. He was lying in the hot sun on the middle of a garden path, very dry indeed, and a small boy was saying, "Here's a dead man. Let's have a funeral." "No," said his mother. "Let's take him in and dry him. Perhaps he isn't really dead." They took him into the house, and a big man picked him up between his finger and thumb and said he was not dead but half choked. So they wrapped him in cotton wool and warmed him, and he opened his eyes and sneezed. "Nah," said the big man. "Don't frighten him, and we'll see what he'll do. Scratched it is the hardest thing in the world to frighten a mongoose, because he is eaten up from nose to tail with curiosity. The motto of all the mongoose family is run and find out. And Rikki-Tikki was a true mongoose. He looked at the cotton wool, decided that, and it was not good to eat, ran all around the table, sat up and put his fur in order himself, and jumped on the small boy's shoulder. "Don't be frightened, Teddy," said his father. "That's his way of making friends." "He's tickling under my chin," said Teddy. Rikki-Tikki looked down between the boy's collar and neck, snuffed at his ear, climbed down to the floor, where he sat rubbing his nose. "Good gracious," said Teddy's mother. "And that's a wild creature. I suppose he's so tame because we've been kind to him." "All mongooses are like that," said her husband. "If Teddy doesn't pick him up by the tail or try to put him in a cage, he'll run in and out of the house all day long. Let's give him something to eat." They gave him a little piece of raw meat. Rikki-Tikki liked it immensely. And when it was finished, he went out into the veranda and sat in the sunshine and fluffed up his fur to make it dry to the roots. Then he felt better at nightfall, because there are more things to find out about in this house. He said to himself, "Than all my family could find out in all their lives. I shall certainly stay and find out." He spent all that day roaming over the house. He nearly drowned himself in the bathtubs, put his nose into the ink on a writing table, and burnt it on the end of the big man's eye. "Don't like that," said Teddy's mother. He may bite the cigar, for he climbed up in the big man's lap to see how writing was done. He ran into Teddy's nursery to watch how the kerosene lamps were lighted. And when Teddy went to bed, Rikki-Tikki climbed up too, but he was a restless companion. He had to get up and attend to every noise all through the night and find out what made it. Teddy's mother and father came in, the last thing, to look at their boy, and Rikki-Tikki was awake on the pillow. "Child, he'll do no such thing," said the father. "Teddy's safer with that little beast than if he had a bloodhound to watch him. If a snake came into the nursery now, but Teddy's mother wouldn't think of anything so awful." Rikki-Tikki, early in the morning, Rikki-Tikki came too early, breakfasty in the veranda, riding on. "This is a splendid hunting ground," he said, and his tail grew bottle-brushy at the thought of it, and he scuttled up and down the garden, snuffing here in Teddy's shoulder, and they gave him banana and some boiled eggs, and he sat on all their laps, one after the other, because every well-brought-up mongoose always hopes to be a house mongoose someday and have rooms to run about in. And Rikki-Tikki's mother had carefully told Rikki what to do if ever he came across white men. Then Rikki-Tikki went out into the garden to see what was to be seen. It was a large garden, only half cultivated, with bushes as big as summer houses of Marshal Niel, roses, lime, and orange trees, clumps of bamboos and thickets of high grass, licked his lips there till he heard very sorrowful voices, and it was Darsy, the tailor bird, and his wife. They had made a beautiful nest by pulling two big leaves together and stitching them up the edges with fibers, and had filled hollow with cotton and downy fluff. The nest swayed to and fro as they sat on the rim and cried.